let's go to the process of the battle situation. We start in round one with a 3-minute argumentation with you. Juan Carlos, you will start. And then after 3 minutes, we take the time and stop you. And then it's up to Dr. Krall to come with arguments pro gold. And then we repeat it in mode 2, round 2, just 1 minute, and then you can respond 1 minute. And then the last possibility to make your statement is 30 seconds. And then we stop here, and then it's up to the audience to decide which position has better arguments. And then we continue and leave it to the audience to support either the gold argument or the Bitcoin argument. So you understand the process, you accept
I
it.
do.
I guess you accept it, and also the audience accepts it. Do you have the timing? We have a timing machine. As a Swiss, we have the most precise timing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, so let me present Bitcoin. Bitcoin, and I think for this battle, I think we should focus on what is the question? It says whether you should hodl Bitcoin or hodl gold. Now, what do we refer by that? Where do we put our money right now? What's the best store of value long term? It has been gold for a long time, but now I'm here to make an argument that if you haven't seen Bitcoin, you should take a look at it very, very soon. Bitcoin is a decentralized. Bitcoin is 3 things. It's a software, it's a network, and it's an asset. Now, given those 3 things, each of them have taken a lot of brain power to put together. Bitcoin, since it started, we got to remember Bitcoin is very young. We're only a little bit over a decade. Gold has over 5,000 years on us. But in a little bit over a decade, Bitcoin has become the best performing asset class in the world and will continue to become the best performing asset class because of, number one, the scarcity. There will only be 21 million Bitcoins, and that's all there will be. The way that Bitcoin has been set up is it has a 4-year cycle, which is something that follows economic theory of acceptance of markets. And it forces the market to reinvent itself every 4 years. So every 4 years, Bitcoin goes through a halving, which is going to be happening next month. That means that the amount of Bitcoin being created cuts by half. There's only 21 million, and therefore a lot of people like myself that hold Bitcoin long-term, like our country that holds Bitcoin long-term, reduces the supply, and having a fixed supply and an increased demand increases the price. That is why Bitcoin has been the best performing asset. It is also the only asset right now currently that is
1 minute left.
It's decentralized. It's decentralized. It's free to use internationally. It's not sanctioned by any government. It's a unit of exchange, has a unit of account, and it's stored value. So El Salvador is Bitcoin country. We accept Bitcoin here everywhere. So therefore, I think that you should look at Bitcoin in the long-term store of value as a better option than gold.
That's brilliant. You gave 30 seconds.
In my 30 seconds, I'd like to say that I'm also a gold person, and I'm wearing my Bitcoin gold shirt for a reason, to respect Dr. Krall, but also Bitcoin is the future of gold, digital gold.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Now it's up to Dr. Krall.
Well, first of all, thank you for this very focused presentation and the argument. And the problem that I have is none of these arguments is any way wrong. They're all correct. The key question for me is, though, what is if the rubber meets the street, which means When you look at gold, gold has a 5,000-year history, and in some regards even a 7,000-year history, because the oldest artifacts are that old. But as a means of payment, it's just 5,000 years, which is compared to Bitcoin quite a distance. Now the key question is, why has it performed over 5,000 years in this way? And I think the reason is clear, because it is the model for Bitcoin. So all the advantages that Bitcoin has, and I don't put them in any doubt, is the copy of what gold has. The scarcity, the difficulty to get it, but on top of that comes the physical access. You can basically take gold and hold it in your hand. You can take it away. It has a very high density of value. So by taking it away with you, you can also weather situations like there's no electricity, there's no internet, there's no civilization. Gold and silver still will work. However, I think that when you look at Bitcoin, this is one of the most interesting experiments in the history of money since the invention of money, which coincides with the discovery of gold as a means of payment. And the reason why I say that is that never in the history before has anything performed like Bitcoin. So I don't want basically to say anything against this experiment. And the key question for me is, will it weather the storm? Will it perform if we have extreme situations, not only economic extreme situations, but even situations like a war, like loss of electricity supply, etc.? In that case, my best guess is that you should be diversified, because you should have Bitcoin and you should have also gold and silver, and you should be diversified in the sense that you weather any situation. You weather the situation of having no electricity by holding physical gold and silver, and you weather the situation of gold being outlawed by holding Bitcoin, because you can't outlaw it. So my pledge is not so much gold versus Bitcoin, but I'm calling for holding both. And at some point in the future, I believe we will find products that merge crypto and the physical precious metal world. And so I will stop basically 15 seconds before it's final. Thanks.
Brilliant. You both did a great job so far. Now it's the 1 minute challenge. It's up to you, Juan Carlos, please.
Yeah, Dr. Krall, I agree with you. One of the things is, you're right, Bitcoin has all the benefits of gold. And this is what I mean, and I keep referring to this as the symphony of the excellence that Bitcoin is, because it is not just an asset like gold is, and we've included all the perfect elements that gold has, but we have included decentralization through a network that allows computers all over the world keep their own ledger. You talked about a black swan event. If in case that we didn't have any electricity or anything, as long as one computer has access to the ledger is immutable. It would continue existing and it would continue to expand. The beauty of Bitcoin is that you own your own coins. Therefore, internationally, if you want to travel with your money, it is decentralized and it is your own custody, that you have it with you anytime and anywhere in the world.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Now, the response of Dr. Krall.
Yeah, the response is relatively easy. The advantage of decentralization is clear. It comes with a price, though. And the price is that decentralization means it has to be detached from the physical world. So there's no physical asset in there. And yes, you are right. If one computer is still running and has access to the ledger, the Bitcoin doesn't disappear. The problem is, if you don't have that computer and you are in urgent need of means of payment, and there's no electricity or no access to the ledger, then you are without a means of payment. And that's why I believe that is still an advantage that gold and silver has, and that Bitcoin will not be able effectively to resemble, except in a situation where we find a merger between the two concepts. So it's decentralization on one side, which is an advantage. It's physical presence on the other side, which is also an advantage. You can't have them both. So you can't say, wash me, but don't make me wet from either side. Thanks.
Okay, it's 1 second left. That was pretty good. Okay, now we 30 seconds are through. Now it's up to the audience to decide which position has found better arguments or stronger arguments. Who found the gold position stronger? Hands up. 3, 4. Who found the Bitcoin position stronger? Okay. No votes. 1 no votes. Okay, it's a clear indication that the Bitcoin addiction is so high in Switzerland that it is a clear situation. Okay, so now we turn to the audience. We need to have some support on both sides, especially on the gold side, I see. And I go on this way, we just start with gold and then with Bitcoin. And if nobody wants to join the gold side, then we just continue on the Bitcoin side. Okay, is anybody who wants to support the gold case? Okay, great. Katie, please.
I'm not anti-Bitcoin. I've been involved since 2017, but I'm a risk manager, and I like what Dr. Krall had mentioned, that it's good to hold both. There's a lot of things we don't know. I mean, this time last year, we wouldn't expected the wars to still be running. We would never expect Israel against Gaza. There's a lot of things we just don't know. As a risk manager, my biggest concern in this world of decentralization and this massive reliance on electricity is what happens when the lights go out. We have seen attacks on grids before, and I'm sure, there's all kinds of, war tactics that can happen. And I know we're always trying to be ready for the worst case scenario, but shit happens and things might, turn that way. So there's a small element of reserve in me that does question when the lights go out. Now, when the lights do go out, I think we're going to have bigger problems about how to get the lights back on. But there may be that situation. And so I'm a believer that it's good to diversify. And I think there's great calls for both sides. I've always been a fan of promoting both sides. But in this case, since fewer people are worrying about when the lights go out, I'm standing up for that.
Let me make a comment about that. And
No,
this is
no comment. No. Just listen. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm actually against both, because what you've all been describing is a lights go out Armageddon-esque type moment where the question becomes, how do you continue to operate in that environment? And the argument for gold is, well, you can cut a small sliver off and you can then trade that for someone who'll make you a meal or something else. Actually, these are all falsehoods. All currency is derived from the capacity to exert force. This is how we first moved from people moving away from hunter-gatherers to being people who worked on fields and therefore became rooted in a position in which you could be attacked. Those who provided you protection provided you with the currency. That remains true today, hence the US Navy is in the Arabian Gulf and the Red Sea. This is all to do with establishing shipping lanes. At the end of the day, if we really get to a state where the lights go off, your number one investment is in your own ability to fight. Your number two investment is weapons. Your number three investment is land that you can grow food in, that you can defend and eat. Everything after that is luxury.
Okay, thank you very much. We shouldn't, just as a moderator, we shouldn't go too far away from Bitcoin. We just talk about Bitcoin and gold. Now I have seen some hands off for Bitcoin. Anybody here? Ja, komm, Armand, we have to go here. Musst du reinreden. Armand SALVADOR.
Hi guys, nice to meet you. Well, I'm holding both, but I'm holding more Bitcoin than gold. Reason for that is when the lights goes off, we're all screwed. Okay, nothing can be paid because everything is paid digitally nowadays. And I just want to remind everyone what happened in the last century in the US with gold. Everything was confiscated. back then when gold was actually backed with the dollar. So that can happen also. And so I'm more heavy on Bitcoin because I believe the supply shortage which is there will increase the price. So that's my take.
Thank you very much. Another quote on the gold side, or another, yeah, Pascal, yeah, please. Right. Okay, then you go this side.
Yes, another argument for gold, which I think is quite interesting, and not taking the side of lights off and Armageddon, but I think when you think Bitcoin as a decentralized network, it still needs to be upheld. It needs to be maintained. There needs to be incentives that Bitcoin is kept on being mined, and that's kind of where I look into the future, and I don't know if this will ever be the case, because gold does exist qua nature. It just exists through the physical laws that we have, and that is kind of interesting because I don't see this on Bitcoin side, and that's why I would also root for gold in that aspect.
Thank you very much. Another quote on the Bitcoin side, please. No, you have, yes, thank you. That's Bernd Lapp.
Hey guys, so I think if I just look at the use case, I go to a shop and I want to buy something, then it's much easier. The divisibility of Bitcoin is much easier to buy something. So that's, for me, pragmatic. I can just take the exact amount. If I have a gold coin or even a gold bar, how can I pay in a shop? I use a saw, or I don't know. Or I have to trade again, and then the trade becomes very complex over time. So I think Bitcoin has the advantage of divisibility.
Okay. This I misinterpret that you would take a gun and then get them. No. Okay. That was against grab. Another support Bitcoin. Okay, another Bitcoiner. Please, Markus Kunert.
Hey guys. So I think on the end it's about what you trust. So what do you trust to hold value? So I mean, every currency is just worth the amount you trust it. So either it's gold or Bitcoin on the one hand, but that's the reason what blockchain was invented for, and ultimately Bitcoin. It's a distributed ledger. It's a consensus which gives you trust and transparency, and that's why I think it's superior to gold.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I guess we are through with the audience now. We hand over back to you, and it's now really a free debate, meaning that it shouldn't take maybe half an hour or so, but just make your statement in a free debate. And I would suggest that Dr. Krall would start it, because you had a little bit more to argue, I guess, and then turn over to Juan Carlos. Please, Dr. Krall.
Thank you very much. Well, the problem is probably that when I look at my state of mind with regards to Bitcoin and gold, I have a state of mind that I admit freely is schizophrenic. Probably we are all to a certain level in this degree schizophrenic, but we don't admit it all. And the way I'm schizophrenic about the thing is that I hope that Bitcoin prevails, but I'm a skeptic. Okay, so there is ideologically, I'm a libertarian. Everybody knows that. And if Bitcoin prevails, that will make life for central banks a hell, which is good, because it punishes the devil. I'm still a skeptic because 15 years is not so long compared to 5,000 years. I'm still a skeptic because of this if the light goes out scenario. And also, there are some built-in things which probably still need to be addressed in the Bitcoin algorithm, so to speak. One of them is the fact that there is an economy of scale in mining. Economy of scale in mining means that if you are a bigger investor, then the probability of a higher return goes up. And that means there is a concentration, there's a trend to concentration in mining, which has its limits because the ultimate concentration would be a monopoly. So that might be a self-destruct if it's not managed. I don't know how much of that has been addressed in the past, because since I brought up that argument some while ago, I have not followed up on it. But this is something where I say this probably needs to be addressed. Gold doesn't have such a trend to monopolization because it's simply a physical asset. It doesn't have a debtor, an obligor, so to speak. It just is a physical asset that you can hold and trade and move. And also one point was addressed, divisibility. Last point is you can divide precious metals as you want. By making it smaller. That was the reason why gold became money in the first place, and by using silver and gold. And it has been used in a divisible way for 5,000 years anyways. So you can divide precious metals as much as you like.
Okay, thank you very much.
Excellent argument, Marcus. What I would like to say is that, I remember hearing stories about my grandfather never wanted to lose his horse and carriage. And although the car is a much better technology that actually takes so much more into account than just an animal pulling a device, that's the analogy that I use for Bitcoin. I agree with you. You're used to using your horse and carriage and you're very comfortable, safe. You know that you can talk to your horse and he'll be there. The car won't talk back, so you can't really trust it. But what I'm trying to tell you is two main things. One, the largest transfer of wealth is going to happen within the next couple of years, and that's going to be not me, but my children inheriting the greatest amount of wealth, and they understand the technology. For them, using their cell phone and using digital goods, it's second nature. They probably wouldn't be able to know how to use an old dial-up phone, which is ancient technology that doesn't exist anymore. I'd like to address some of the points regarding the black swan events. So for example, if the lights were to go off, you're right, having gold will not be your greatest threat. It's actually might be your greatest fear, and it's already happened. Back in the 30s, gold was confiscated for every citizen, and if you didn't give your gold to the government, you went to jail. Having gold, physical gold assets, it's a liability in the sense of, look, something happens in your country and you're trying to flee with your earnings that you now have solid gold with. Good luck trying to travel somewhere with it. You're not going to be allowed into another country. That country is going to be confiscated. So this mentality that gold's a physical thing, nobody ever uses gold anymore physically. Nobody has a safe full of gold. It's all digital held. Your proposal and your presentation is all about the digitization, how to create digital gold, et cetera, et cetera. So there is no divisibility of gold anymore. It's all digital. Now, the biggest difference is that when I own Bitcoin, I self-custody that Bitcoin, and I know that I can travel anywhere in the world and access my Bitcoin and be able to pay with Bitcoin. Now, why has the adoption been slow to take off? Well, we've only been with this over a decade. Give it 20 years, give it 30 years. Bitcoin has added more than just the ancient technology, which is the horse and carriage. Yes, you feel comfortable talking to your horse, but guess what? Today, we use airplanes, we use cars, and they're reliable. Although they don't talk to us, they still take us from point A to point B. So what I'm trying to say is that everything that was good, and you said it yourself, everything that was good with gold has been implemented in Bitcoin, but add to that now the mentality of, you talk about mining. I mean, my background is mining engineering. Talk about mining of digital mining, the proof of work that takes place with Bitcoin. This forces industries to invest billions of dollars, to be invested, to be pot committed in the success of Bitcoin. Someone else mentioned what's going to happen when the Bitcoin price goes down or the halving and there's no more Bitcoins. Well, this is the beauty about the Trumpetarian theory of capitalism. It forces to reinvent itself. What's happening now? The cost of transactions, it's as high as the rewards of Bitcoin. So very soon, the miners will continue to operate, and there will be other uses to the largest and most secure network in the world, which is Bitcoin. It's immutable. You can store your information now on Bitcoin using ordinal protocol, and that allows you to have stuff that's important to you permanently on the largest network in the world. That's going to become a very super used market in the near future, which is going to provide liquidity for the miners, for people to do other things than just financially transactions. So Bitcoin keeps reinventing itself, keeps growing, and keeps becoming more. The initial concept of Bitcoin was a peer-to-peer payment mechanism. That was in 2008. Today, Bitcoin has become the most secure financial settlement platform in the world, has become the largest network in the world, and has become our legal currency in El Salvador. So Bitcoin, it's going to keep surprising us what it is that it can do. And that's because of the thoughts behind economic theory and technology that went into creating Bitcoin.
Okay, Dr. Krall, please
Well,
respond to that.
Well, I'm not as pessimistic about what states can do and cannot do as you are with regards to outlawing gold. When you look at the past experience, who outlawed gold in the past? That was the United States and Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany and the United States, both in the 30s, in the 1930s, and both didn't succeed in doing it. Actually, people just didn't hand over their gold. They were bringing it abroad, they were hiding it, they were digging it into the ground and undigging it when it was legalized again. So people don't comply. And when you look at Bitcoin, interestingly, Bitcoin is to a large extent a non-compliance exercise that people perform against the state, because there have been states have been trying to making Bitcoin illegal. China, for example, has been trying it several times. Others have been contemplating it, but not trying because they understood that it would be completely futile. It can't be done, but it can be done either with precious metals. With silver, it would probably not be that difficult, because silver you need much more volume and weight for value storage. But with gold, it's almost impossible to do it. When you think about gold, the amount of gold available globally is 1 ounce per person, not more than that. And 1 ounce is relatively easy to hide. Now, why is gold only 2,000 or at the moment $2,150 per ounce? It's basically because it is currently not used as money due to the fact that we mostly have fiat money, meaning paper money that can be created out of thin air. But once the fiat money goes away, 1 ounce will probably have a much higher, provided it will be used as money again, a much higher purchasing power than currently. So you can hide a very large amount of purchasing power on a very small amount of gold. So probably you will escape the state's iron hand or iron fist just as easily as with Bitcoin, because with Bitcoin, you cannot confiscate it physically, but the state can still try to hack you and to hack the user and to kind of demonstrate its power by persecuting people in a very harsh way. Like in Nazi Germany, I think there was a death penalty on holding gold, and still people didn't hand it over. Now, what I think is, and by the way, when cars do these days talk back to you, and it's pretty nerving, you know. So when you think about what is happening next, I believe that the markets will decide that. The markets, and in my experience, markets never put all their eggs in one basket. That's part of risk management. I think what markets will do is they will make Bitcoin survive, which I personally hope for. I'm a gold bug and hoping for Bitcoin survival, because, as I said, it's making life for central banks more difficult and the hell. And ideally, it should be helping abolish central banks, because I'm with Millet there. We don't need central banks. Central banks are not helping us at all. They're exploiting us. So anything that kills them will be good. And if Bitcoin kills central banks, I will make this, you know, I can tell you that. I can promise that. The one thing is that I'm still a skeptical, and skepticism means I manage it by diversification.
I see. Yeah.
100%. And a diversified market is totally what we need. However, I think the market, if we look at the Bitcoin price right now, it's 72,260 just before the halving. The acceptance of the Bitcoin ETF in the States, which was inevitable. I think that if you look at the writing in the wall and you do take the time to understand Bitcoin as a protocol, as a network, and as an asset, you would truly begin to appreciate the difference between an analog phone, the old round dial-up phone, and your cell phone. It is that much of a difference when it comes to the superiority of the technology, of the asset itself, of taking everything that was good with gold, applying it to the asset itself, taking everything that was good about finance and economic theory and applying it to the protocol itself. Bitcoin really is an ingenious, perhaps one of the greatest creation by humankind ever made. And the simplicity of it forces it to be able to maintain and ensure that it won't be hacked. Like Bitcoin, for example, it does one thing and it does one thing well. In 12 years, we haven't had a fake single transaction done. When it comes to keeping and custodying your own keys and your own money, well, I mean, as long as you memorize your 12 words or your 24 words, you don't even have to write them down, and no one else in the world needs to know that you actually own Bitcoin. It's up to you to, at any point, to use a wallet and access your Bitcoin money and do something. That's why we're seeing wallets now that from the Satoshi era waking up that nobody knows who owns. It is completely the decentralization, and the most important thing is the removal of the trust person. So if I were to use your product, Marcus, I would have to trust you to make sure that whatever you're telling me, digital representation, does translate to the physical representation. I don't have to worry about that in Bitcoin because the network and the blockchain ensure that my transaction is clear, accurate, and safe.
Well, that's why I think that as we move forward with my product, we will have to marry it with the blockchain because that will achieve exactly that. However, I have one question, not in opposing what you just said, but rather an information question, which makes me curious. You, in your presentation, gave us some insights into the general performance of El Salvador as an economy and as a society, like, for example, crime rate, etc. My guess is that this not only has to do with introduction of the Bitcoin, but also with some other market-oriented reforms. Could you enlighten us a little bit on the role of Bitcoin in that reform process? That would be very interesting, I think.
Sorry, what was the start of your question?
The question was, you showed in your presentation not only about Bitcoin, but also some key performance indicators about El Salvadorian economy and society, like the drop in the crime rate, etc. My guess is that this not only has to do with the Bitcoin, but also with a general broader reform agenda in a market economy sense, in a liberal or libertarian economy sense. So could you us enlighten a little bit onto the role of Bitcoin in that reform process that then influences positively the key performance indicators in economy and society of your country?
Yeah, I think, and let me start by clearing up a misunderstanding when it comes to the use of Bitcoin in the country. I myself, when the president nationalized Bitcoin as our currency, I started buying as well, and I would buy the dip. If we take a look at those that made the investment at the same time, we are just now coming into profitability. The reason I want to make that clear is that Salvadorians, the largest majority of our population, are very poor people. So if they were to lose $1 or $2 out of the $10 investment, which happens daily in Bitcoin, right now gladly it's going up, that would really destabilize their economy. That means they wouldn't have breakfast, they wouldn't be able to eat if they lost $1 or $2. Therefore, when it comes to the adoption of Bitcoin for national Salvadorians has been not low, but understandably not a huge appetite because of the volatility. So everyone in El Salvador understands and knows Bitcoin, but fears the volatility of Bitcoin because they don't have a big pool of savings that they can put money long term that they don't have to worry about for next year. For Salvadorians, and right now would be for 3 years, since 2021 to 2024 till we come to profitability. For most Salvadorians, they're on a day-to-day budget. So that's the reason why most Salvadorians haven't used Bitcoin itself. Now, what has Bitcoin done for the country? One is by adopting Bitcoin, we were baptized through fire, if you want to say, of understanding what digital assets is. And that's why El Salvador is perhaps the most prepared country in the world when it comes at handling, working with, and inviting the world to come and do digital assets in the country because we have adopted it. We were born with it. We sort of, it's secondhand to us. That is our national currency or national force or national labor force and everyone in the country understands and studies Bitcoin. There's free education. All the children now, it's included in their curriculum. So we're building perhaps the largest financial educated workforce and society in the world by not just adopting Bitcoin, but by educating people of why it is that Bitcoin makes sense as opposed to the old fiat currency that they used to grow up with. So now, overall, to answer your question, this success that we've had are not really the benefits of Bitcoin, but the benefits of a visionary president that we have that was able to not just make the decision that Bitcoin should be a legal currency, but also to make the decision that, look, we have a very clear problem of safety in the country. Let's tackle it head on, and let's do it in a way that we don't have a war. Let's not go out and mass murder all the killers. Let's just do due diligence, arrest them, and clean up the country. And he's done that. Now, what has he done for the country, for the tourism? If you come to El Salvador, you'll be amazed. I mean, all of our roads are paved. There isn't that many. I mean, I find more potholes in Canada than I do here in El Salvador. Within half an hour, I can be on the beach. I can be on top of a mountain. The infrastructure has exceeded almost every country. And he's invested heavily in creating tourism destinations and turning our country into a top tourism destination. So putting everything together, turning the country into a safe country, nationalizing Bitcoin, and investing on proper infrastructure in the country has turned El Salvador into the success that we are today.
Thank you very much, Juan Carlos. I think that was a very great, nice word, this invitation to El Salvador. I understood it like this. It's just to check on ground if the adoption is really corresponding to that what you have shown on the slides. That's number one. Number two, you have shown me an incredible meal at your beach house. We're gonna have to check it out if that's real or just whatever. So it's kind of an invitation to the audience that we gonna have a flight to El Salvador. I guess Dr. Krall will join us as a guide in economics sense. And it was really just to summarize this fantastic discussion. I think that was one of the best battles we ever had. Of two opponents who are extremely profound in their area, are exposed and take the risk to be exposed in this time. So that's really, I'm very, very happy about this, that we made it happen. And I look into the audience, and the only currency we have right now is clapping into your hand. Okay, at this stage, I would really like to thank you for joining us. Crypto Mountain is about open debate, is about finding new ways, challenging each other, and you did a fantastic job. Thank you very much for that. And we have another program now. We go to another currency. It's about speed. It's already...
Thanks a lot, and have a successful conference. It was a pleasure to.
By the way, just to finish, all of you that come to El Salvador are getting a free Bitcoin gold shirt. I'll send one to Dr. Krall myself.
I will wear that.
Have a good one. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you. Bye. Bye.